My friend from school, he's a Christian, he speaks of post-creation evolution. Ever heard of this?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's your opinion on it? And is there really any, like, rationale behind it?
Maybe you can define it, because I don't know.
I think he's 99% right.
So, like, after creation,
yeah, from that point on, he's right. It's before that he's got no evidence.
Okay, so
what happens, the reason this thing comes up is that you have a creationist belief that, you know, that there is some God or some force or whatever that created all this, and it comes from your religion. And then, as we go about, and there are people who are unsatisfied with that answer. They often get into, I don't know, scientific fields, but basically our general curiosity prompts us along. And when somebody is unsatisfied with magic man done it as an answer, and they go out and investigate, and then all of a sudden we find evidence and we start building up a proper understanding of the way reality and the universe works. And when there's so much evidence for something that even the most credulous people can't possibly reject it, like, I don't know, the Catholic Church, then they say, oh yeah, this evolution thing, it's true, but that describes what happens after God created. They've got to stick their God somewhere, and where God used to explain this much, we've managed to explain this chunk, so we have to take God out of that, but we're still sticking God in whatever little gaps of our knowledge there may be. And so since abiogenesis is not completely understood, other than the fact that it's possible, and since the origins of the universe are not completely understood and probably never will be, although the Big Bang cosmology is probably the best explanation anybody's ever going to come up with, and oh, by the way, it's confirmed by observations and math, but there's still, you know, little areas where we don't understand, so they stick God in there because it makes them feel good.
Okay.
So it's like a God of the gaps thing, right? They want to stick their God somewhere.
Right.
So
it's really
I'll
quite
tell him
interesting.
where
Really, just with him, how he's an extremely intelligent individual. He's really good in math and everything like that, and knows a lot of evolution.
Yeah.
But for some reason, he still sticks onto that belief of a God creation. You know,
one of my favorite proponents of evolution of recent years is Ken Miller, and he's a Catholic. And yet he is extremely vocal against the intelligent design movement. He was instrumental in the Dover case. He's very well spoken. He's a very good instructor. I like the fact that he's written textbooks. His explanations are great, and he's right on the money on evolution. It's just that I don't even know. Ken doesn't even normally talk about his religious view of how God created. I don't know how these things are mesh in somebody's mind. I mean, we tend to compartmentalize things. I don't know how they make sense of it. It doesn't make sense to me even when I thought it made sense to me.
Well, there's a compartmentalization that goes on, right? You have the real world that deals with logic and these sorts of things, and then these people seem to have in their head some sort of God views that they have to keep separate, because there's these tensions between the two where, you know, one just is incompatible with the other in some cases. And I think that's what your friend has done, is he's sort of compartmentalized his beliefs. I see that a lot.
Really? So there's just basically something just trying to make him feel good, but still trying to seem rational in his own mind?
Well, it may not just, you know, I don't want to oversimplify it in that, oh, I like this particular belief of God. There are people that are genuinely convinced that a God exists, and in part it's because they've had experiences that they can't explain. What they don't realize is that while some of those experiences may not have an explanation or an easy explanation or one they can understand, some of them are actually really common things. I've heard people, literally, the people have called into the show or sent in emails and said, I believe in God absolutely, and nothing you could ever say could change my mind because I've had these amazing experiences, and when and this couldn't be, coincidence, and this can't be explained, and these experiences are amazing, and if you would have had experiences like this, you'd believe in God too. And when I ask for an example, half the time they're like, well, I can't really think of one at the moment, which, by the way, drives me crazy that you just... It's like, man, I had the best dinner ever. What was it? Oh, I don't really remember. And the other half is they give the most trivial, mundane, commonplace things that fit into that kind of weird category. Like, I'm thinking of somebody and the phone rings and it's them. Okay, yeah. And guess what? I've had that experience, and it didn't convince me that there was a God. What it convinced me was that I have a phone, they have a phone, there are people that I care about and think about, and then I realized, how many times did that phone ring and it wasn't them? And how many times was I thinking about them and they didn't call?
Yeah, confirmation
It's confirmation bias there. As soon as I'm...
You guys have seen that movie Religious, right? The
Yeah.
noir one?
Yeah.
Like that one guy with Jews for Jesus, how he's explaining all these miracles that made him believe in what he does. And then when he tried to give Bill an example, he couldn't really think of it.
Yeah.
It's such a huge thing in his life. But giving an example of it was just not happening for him.
Yeah, it's nuts. Oh, I was almost in a car accident.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody's almost been in a car accident for the most part. Oh,
Okay,
well, you know, I had
my question, though.
Thanks, Cal. Appreciate the call.
Yep. Keep it up, guys.
The other ones are like, you know, I had a relative that was incredibly sick, and they got better, and the doctors couldn't explain it. Okay. Take cancer, for example. Sometimes it goes into remission. A lot of things the human body is just going to fix on its own. The fact that they don't absolutely... You know what's really nice here is that the doctors are actually honest. They're not going to give you some BS explanation. They're going to say, you know, we really don't know why this happened, but sometimes it happens. That doesn't make it a miracle, and it doesn't give you the right to say, this happened and you can't explain it, therefore God did it.
It's the God of the gaps thing again.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, here's an unexplained thing, therefore God must fit in it.
Yeah.
Jam it in there.
Yeah, you keep tempting me. I'm going to tell them where to jam God here in a minute.